story begins in a Siberian prison where people from many countries are held as captives. The prison is surrounded by endless snow and dense forests stretching for thousands of kilometers, and escaping from this place is almost impossible. After World War II, the Soviets captured thousands of people and forced them to work day and night in the coal mines. The prison itself doesn't have heavy security, but no one dares to escape because the outside world is a frozen wasteland, and even if someone manages to get past the walls, the deadly cold would soon kill them. Among the prisoners is a Polish army officer named Yanush. He has been falsely accused of several crimes and is being forced to sign a confession, but he refuses. To break him, the interrogators bring in his wife. She cries as she tells them that her husband is against the Communist Party and works as a spy for other countries. Yanush is shocked and heartbroken, but as he looks at her trembling face, he understands that she has been tortured into lying. Because of her forced confession, Yanush is sentenced to 20 years in the Siberian labor camp. When he arrives, the camp commander tells them that their prison isn't just the camp, it's the whole of Siberia. Even if they escape, the local people will kill them for money since there is a reward for every escaped prisoner's death. Later, the prisoners stand in line for food. Yanush notices an old starving man and gives him his portion. A prisoner named Mr. Smith warns him not to do that. He says that there's no humanity here. If you share your food, they'll cut your ration in half. Yanush later meets another prisoner named Khabarov, who used to be an actor. Yanush asks him if there's a way to escape, but Khabarov tells him not to even think about it or he'll end up dead. The next day, the prisoners are sent into the forest to cut wood. While working, Yanush secretly studies the area, looking for possible escape routes. That evening, Khabarov tells him quietly that he has a plan to escape and has been waiting for someone brave enough to go with him. He explains that about 500 kilometers south from the camp is Baikal Lake. If they follow its shoreline southward, they'll reach the Siberian Railway, and after crossing it, they can reach the Mongolian border, but they must wait until winter ends and gather food for the long journey. Over the following days, they begin collecting food, hiding small portions whenever they can. One night, Yanush tells Mr. Smith about Khabarov's escape plan. Mr. Smith laughs and says Khabarov lies to new prisoners all the time and that there is no real plan. He then says that if Yanush truly wants to escape, he will go with him. Yanush asks him why he wants to join. Mr. Smith says that he thinks Yanush is a good man and he knows that if anything happens to him during the journey, Yanush will help him. One night, a strong snowstorm hits the camp. Yanush thinks it's the perfect chance to escape because the heavy snow will erase their footprints. But Khabarov refuses, saying they are not ready and do not have enough food. A Russian criminal named Valka overhears them. He threatens Yanush, saying that he will join the escape or kill them, and Yanush agrees to take him. That night, Yanush, Mr. Smith, Valka, and 7 others prepare to escape. They cut off the camp's power generator, giving them 10 minutes before the alarm is raised. They then cut through the wire fence and run into the forest. When the guards discover their escape, they send search teams with dogs, but the snowstorm has already covered their footprints. The men keep walking through the blinding snow and use Valka's knife to peel bark from trees and make masks to protect their faces. By morning, they had traveled far away from the camp, so the guards won't be able to find them now. The group sits down, rests, and counts their food, which will last only a few weeks. After a short rest, they continue their journey south toward Mongolia, with Yanush leading the way by following the sun. At night, they stop in a forest to make a fire. Each man searches for wood, but one of them, a young boy named Kachik, suffers from night blindness and gets lost. When everyone returns, they realize Kachik is missing and start searching, but they can't find him. In the morning, they find him sitting under a tree, frozen to death. They dig a grave in the snow, bury him, and continue their long journey across the endless white wilderness toward freedom. Many days passed as the group continued their journey, and by this time, their food had completely run out. To stay alive, they began eating insects and bird eggs. They were supposed to reach Baikal Lake a week earlier, but after losing their way, they were still far from it. One night, while they were sleeping, strange animal sounds woke them up. They followed the sounds and found a pack of wolves feeding on their prey. The men scared the wolves away and ate the remaining meat, which gave them a little strength. The next morning, Yanush told everyone that he would go alone to find Baikal Lake. He said that if he didn't return within a week, they should assume he was dead. He walked alone through the snow and forests, facing cold winds and hunger. He finally saw the lake on the 3rd day and returned to tell everyone that the lake is only a day's journey away. But Yanush was weak and sick, so the others took care of him and let him rest. The next morning, they started walking toward the lake. Along the way, they noticed a young girl following them. She said she had escaped from the Russians and hadn't eaten for many days. She begged them to take her with them. Yanush and Mr. Smith wanted to help her, but the others refused because they barely had enough food for themselves. Sadly, they left the girl behind and kept moving. When they finally reached the shore of Baikal Lake, they found a deer trapped in the mud. They killed it and used the meat for food, which kept them alive for a few days. That evening, Mr. Smith returned with the same girl they had met earlier. Her name was Irina, and the group gave her food and decided to let her join them. The next day, after washing and resting, the group set off again. Irina slowly bonded with them and became a part of their small family. After several days of walking, they reached the Siberian railway. They realized that from there it would take another 5 or 6 days to reach the Mongolian border. Since there were guards and people around during the day, they decided to cross the railway at night. When night fell, they quietly moved south toward Mongolia, but before they could continue, Valka told Yanush that he could not go with them any further. He said he would stay behind because he was Russian and could survive there. Yanush said goodbye to him, and the rest continued their journey. After a few more days, they finally reached the Mongolian border. However, when they saw Stalin's picture at the gate, they realized that Mongolia was also under communist control. They felt hopeless because they had risked their lives for nothing. Yanush then suggested they go to India through Tibet, as India was under British rule and would be safer. The journey would take them across the Himalayas, but they had no other choice. On their way, they crossed the vast and deadly Gobi Desert. The heat was unbearable, and there was no food or water. They ate whatever small creatures they could find and wet their clothes to suck out the moisture. They used their clothes to cover themselves from the sun, but it wasn't enough. After days of walking, they became weak and dehydrated. One day, Mr. Smith thought he saw trees far away and said there might be water there. Yanush warned him that it was probably just an illusion caused by heat, but Mr. Smith ignored him and walked toward the spot. To everyone's surprise, there was actually a well with fresh water. They were overjoyed and drank until they were full. They decided to rest for a while, but Yanush reminded them that there was no food nearby. Without food, they would become too weak to walk, so they filled their containers with as much water as they could and continued their journey the next morning. Soon after, a massive sandstorm swept through the desert. They managed to survive, but most of their water was lost. Still, they refused to stop and kept walking. After some time, Irina collapsed from exhaustion. Her feet were swollen and bleeding, but she tried to walk again so she wouldn't slow them down. Eventually, she fell again and did not get up. She had died from exhaustion and dehydration. Now only 4 of them remained. The group buried her and mourned her loss before continuing forward. After more days of walking, they finally arrived at the Great Wall of China. However, they couldn't enter China because there was a war between China and Japan. So they turned toward the snowy Himalayas and began climbing toward Tibet. After a long and painful climb, they reached a monastery. The monks welcomed them warmly and gave them food and shelter. Yanush wanted to leave immediately, but Mr. Smith decided to go to China, hoping to find the American military and return home with their help. The next day, Yanush and the remaining 2 men continued their journey through the freezing mountains. After many days of travel, they finally reached India, where kind villagers gave them food and shelter. Years later, it was revealed that Yanush could not return to Poland for 50 years because it was still under communist rule. When Poland became free in 1989, he finally returned home. When he arrived, he lifted the stone near the door, took out the hidden key and opened the door. Inside, he found his wife, now old and frail. They looked at each other with tears in their eyes and embraced.